Hello everyone, welcome back. In this part we're going to model the holder for the knife. So I'm just going to get out of edit mode for the knife, go back to this layer here, and we're going to shift A. We're going to add another plane, tab into edit mode, rotate this 90 degrees, G to grab. Just going to scale this down, and then let's look at our image here. Okay, so we basically want it to conform to the shape of the knife. And then we have the belt buckles coming out from the sides. Alrighty. So let's do that. Hit Z. And we're just gonna bring this in on the Y-axis here. Vertex mode. Bring this part down. Bring this part like so. All right, let's look at the background image again. Alrighty. So we're gonna move the background image up. Scale it down a little bit and bring it up. Scale it down some more and move it right next to our object so that we can see it while we're modeling. And so I'm gonna move this part back behind here. E to extrude that part up. So just like that. And I'm gonna extrude this out like so. And for this part here, I'm going to add an edge loop that goes to here. We're going to add an edge loop that goes to here. I'm going to bring both of these. We're going to just bring this part here actually out on the Y-axis. Let me bring it on the Y a little bit more. We're going to inset this and extrude it over the knife. And Control R here. Go back to face mode, scale this in. Add two edge loops here. I'm going to select the edge in between there. And we're just going to bring that out. We're going to select this here. I'm going to bring this out. And bring this out also. Add an edge loop in there. Make sure the shading is on smooth. And then we can add, so we can inset this and then E to extrude it down. We don't have to make the whole like all the way, go all the way in or match it in any way. It just has to give that impression that there's a, the knife is sitting in something. Bring this out a little bit more, bring that out a little bit more, add edge loops to the edges there. And then let's add a subdivision surface to see how it looks. Add edge loop in there. All right, that looks nice. That looks almost exactly like the picture, give or take a few things, which would be the little bolt details that I have in there. So we can add those pretty quickly. So just make sure that we have enough room to do so. So we're going to add a few edge loops in here, and here, and here, just to give us more to work with when we add these little parts in here. Select these two faces here, I to inset, Q, W, circle, scale that down. And another thing, when I am smoothing, I have my keyboard shortcut for it set to Alt Q, but you can set it to whatever you want, but the smooth option is in W when you hit W and choose smooth. So we're going to do that. Do the same thing. Loop tools, circle, S to scale. Inset. Well, how many are there? So they're pretty spaced out. So we don't have to add we don't have to add them for every face. We're going to add one here, inset that. Circle. We're going to inset that. Circle. Oops. I'm going to select these two. Whoops. Okay, let's not add the circle to that part. Let's just add it here. The same thing. Just gonna rotate it, scale it down. All right, now let's select all of these. And then hit Control period to move the object origin to individual origins. And we're just going to extrude in, extrude again, scale it down, and then extrude one more time. Scale that down. And there we go. So now we got the detail in here, so all we have to do now is just make sure that it's directly on the side of the character. And so we're going to select both of these, and then select our characters layer, and we can turn off this image. I accidentally deleted it, but that's okay because we're finished with it. And we can just rotate this, rotate it again. Rotate it like so. Okay. Now we just have to apply the location. So over here in our apply object transform, we have location. Just check scale and rotation, and that'll fix that. And we can do the same thing for here. That'll fix that. So now, and a good way to check this is if we have our manipulators turned on here, you see that everything is lined up correctly. So now what we need to do is we need to make this part here conform to the pants, or just kind of wrap onto the pants a little bit. So just move that like that. There we go. That's good. That's good. So now really all we need to do is make the belt loops to go around, and we could actually rotate this. So another thing we could do to help us keep the knife in the holster here is we can go to object, go to transform, and select origin to geometry, and then we can select the holster and go to transform, select origin to geometry. So now we can rotate. We'll make sure that this is on. Hit Control comma to put it back on the universal object center, and we can just move this out more, just so that we can find a medium between it touching the pants and not. So what'll help is if we straightened it out a little bit. Okay, that's good. All right. So we're just going to make the belt buckles real quick. So these objects here are on this layer, so just move them to the top layer. Go back to the bottom layer, Shift A, add a plane, and make sure your origin is in the center here. Tab into edit mode, we're going to hit Alt M and merge these at center. So now we just have a vertice. We're going to add the skin modifier and also a subdivision surface. So now let's either extrude that on the Y or X axis rather, and Just grab these and move them over here. Let's add a mirror modifier on the y-axis. And let's bring these back. Clipping. Extrude these to the y. Make sure the mirror modifier is on top of everything. Going to do the same thing with these bottom vertices here. Now we're going to extrude from the center here. And extrude again. Now in the front view, we're going to bring this part up when we extrude it, and then we're going to extrude that on top like so. And we're going to move this on the Y. Subdivide that. Bring this closer. There we go. We can subdivide that too. Bring that closer as well. All right, so that's the belt buckle, and we can apply all these modifiers. And so we're going to move this belt buckle to this top layer here. Why? Because this is a reusable asset. So I usually keep all my reusable assets over here in this layer. So we're just going to Shift D to duplicate that, and we can move it to this layer. And we can smooth shade that. It's all right. We don't need to do much to this. So we can rotate it. Move it. We can rotate this 180 degrees. So that's facing that way. We can just scale it down. Bring it over. We can scale it down a little bit more. Bring it to the holder there. Or rather R to rotate that. And we could just move this buckle here to the inside like so. And this is where the belt will come through and loop through the legs. So we can scale this up a little bit. All right, so that's one. We need a couple more of these. Well, yeah, we're going to put them on both sides. So that's good. Shift D to duplicate that. Rotate it that way. We can move this up so that it's touching. And then last but not least, we'll put this part in here. Rotate that. Move it, rotate it. Move it like so. All right, and so to make life easier on ourselves, we can select all of these, hit Control J to make that a single mesh, and then we can hit Control A and apply the location, the rotation, and the scale. Now, and we need to do the same thing with this also, rotation and scale. And so just so that you can see what's happening in the manipulator here, when I hit Control A and apply the location, rotation, and scale, it's in the center there. So now we just want to add a mirror modifier to these. So can add a mirror modifier to the knife. Add a mirror modifier to the holder. We can add another to the buckles there. And that'll be it for this part. In the next part, we're going to add the loops and then get started modeling the sword. Hopefully we'll finish the sword in the next part also. And I'll see you guys then.